Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the SGTech Isolation Economy webinar. Thank you so much once again for joining us so faithfully every Wednesday or Thursday for our regular webinar series. Today's our webinar series cannot be possible because of without our great partners. So I would like to acknowledge and thank Singapore Business Federation, Singapore Management University, Office of Alumni Relation, and of course our new partner today, Tech Talent Assembly. So welcome so much to today's webinar on digital transformation in the isolation economy, how we can redesign your business process for the digital transformation journey for your own company. Now, as we always want to say, the information provided in this webinar is really meant for the intention of learning and education. Please always seek your own independent legal and accounting advice before conducting any business or investment decision. We try our best to be as accurate as possible, but where we are failing to, please by all means always seek your own advice first, and of course let us know if you need us to change any information on our sharing as well. So once again, my name is Ivan. So glad to be your regular host. I'm the Co-operative Counselor, SGTech. Now, SGTech is the premier trade association for all the tech industry in Singapore. We represent more than 900 members from the MNC to the SME to even the startup. And we brought this isolation economy series together and this website to really be able to bring to you guys front and center a list of solutions to help us as we undergo this circuit breaker and now the phase reopening of the economy. There's two things to the isolation. Number one, we have our weekly webinar series. You guys can sign up for our next series next week on human capital development. As well, after this session is over, please continue staying on. We have this thing called the Solution Toolbox, whereby we get some of our members' company to present to you their solution to help you in the isolation economy. Now, all of these solutions are curated by our team at SGTech. They are categorized into nice categories. For those of you who are interested to find about all the other solutions from data protection to cybersecurity, they are now available on isolation.sg. And today, we are so pleased to have 5 of our partners, ACA, Global Sign-In, Just Analytics, Tellura, and Nora Group to share with you different solutions that might be helpful for all of you at the SME level as well. All right. Now, as always, after this session is over, you guys will be given a post-webinar industry survey. Please help us fill it up. By doing this, you'll help us be able to better share the concern of SMEs in Singapore to the relevant government agency, and for us to do research on how we can better help our members and our friends in the SME community. So 3 things before I push on and give to my speaker for today. Now, the slides will be available on isolation.sg. Today's slide has already been uploaded. So if you guys want to follow along our speakers, which are from NTUC and from TTAB, the slides are now available on isolation.sg. You can download it right now under past webinar. A recording of this, as I think some of you guys are always asking us, will be available on the website shortly after the session is over. Please give us some time to make changes to it and edit it before we upload it. And last but not least, along the way, I'm sure you have so many questions and answers to ask us. So if you have any Q&A, we will not be able to monitor the chat session. So click on the Q&A functionality on the Zoom and type in your question for us there. All right, so slides, recording, and Q&A. So without further ado, today I have 2 amazing speakers. I have Kwashen from Tech Talent Assembly, and I have Jeffrey, a master trainer from NTUC, to share with you today. So without further ado, I would like now to pass my time over to Kwashen from TTAB to give you guys a sharing about digital transformation. Hi, Kwashen.
Hi, thanks, Ivan.
Welcome.
Hi,
You're looking good.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. So within the next 15 minutes, I'm going to cover the common topic that is being discussed as far as the digitalization journey is concerned. This is something that I gained over the years when I was driving some digitalization within the region. But before I start, I would like to do a quick poll. If you look at the value of digitalization from your own company, what would you actually pick from this whole list of reasons? Is it delivery speed? Is it brand? Is it customer experience? Or because competition actually created something that you have to copy and follow? or because you need access to the market, or some ecosystem will not allow you to have access without digitalization, or ideally there's some funding. So what would be the various reasons that you actually have for you to actually participate into this digitalization journey? So I'm going to do a quick poll. You can actually pick one or all of them. And let's say I give you 1 minute before I close the survey. The time starts now. Oh, very interesting. Looks like productivity is something everybody looking at. So funding is actually one of the good reasons. But I guess from my experience within the region, not all countries are actually being so lucky to have such a generous funding in terms of the digitalization journey. Okay, I'm going to close the polling. All right. These are the various reasons, but looks like productivity is actually one of the main reasons that contributing to the value of digitalization. That is from our participation perspective. But if I were to summarize it based on what I've done within the region, you will notice that end of the day, it is always the P&L that you actually have to align to. Regardless of the reason, the various discussion within the management team, if they can't eventually align back into your cost and your revenue, then I would think that something is actually missing. Next, another common topic is about priority. Should I actually look at my customers, the mass affluent customer, or my partner, the B2B partner? Or in some country, they are talking about because my volume is higher versus some they will talk about because my margin is higher. So due to the limited resources in order to go through the digitalization, so which is the area that I should be focusing on? And some will talk about, what about the region? If I do have a market in Indonesia, should I actually focus in Indonesia because of their size, the population size a lot bigger, but not forgetting as far as the infrastructure is very, very different from Singapore. So if you were to replicate the same and over to Indonesia, you will face a different kind of challenges. So what kind of a priority should I be focusing on? Some will then say that, hey, maybe I would just try something small. Can I actually try out some online store before I actually go full swing into the full transformation journey? And one of the very common item that is actually missing is that everybody always remember about focusing on customers. But when it comes to internal process, internal employee, a lot of discussion always missed it out. I can give you one example. There are some companies that I work with actually still having their employee filling out hard copy application form for leave. And can you imagine you have this group of employees that you actually seconded them to try to think of new idea, to innovate, to transform your whole digitalization and your business? What kind of outcome can you expect out of it? So need to think about it. Next, these are the 4 key areas that I would like to quickly cover. Your target operating model, the technology, your customers, as well as being a digitalized business and operation, what kind of risk and continuity that you should be thinking about. First one, target operating model. Operating model basically is the common language among the various businesses. But I noticed that in the region, a lot of conversation I had, I always end up very quickly, people jump into the operating model. And these are the solutions and these are the software I should acquire and invest on. And without spending enough time in terms of thinking about, discussing about, and setting alignment in terms of what exactly is my current value proposition and what is the new proposition that I'm trying to create versus my competition and versus my strength and weakness and resources. So this is actually something that you should seriously think about rather than just jump straight into the operating model. And once you have the operating model established, the other thing you need to consider and maybe want to think about is this common term called Agile. Agile is a methodology, but it's also a mindset. It is actually something to do with your company culture, your participation and involvement. But those successful companies who actually deploy Agile methodology end up having the benefit of speeding up their deployment, the transformation process. So this is something that's worth looking at. Next one, technology. A lot of business managers always have this concept about, is this a cost? If it is something spending on cost, can I defer the spending? Can I lower the spending? And the other one is, ideally, this is not my problem because this is the IT problem, right? So the IT director should know how to manage this whole thing. So they will just leave it aside. And worst scenario, of course, some will actually leave it underneath the carpet and then only figure out problem much later. So this is actually something to do with strategic capability investment, especially when you're talking about a digitalized operation. I'll just give you one example, artificial intelligence. A lot of vendor solutions today will tell you that their solution will always come with AI, but without actually telling you that a lot of all this software are actually embedded with just rule-based coding rather than the machine learning or deep learning capability. So sometimes you may be investing into something that worth $1,000, but by paying $10,000. But the fact is that this is software, right? Software is something that you can't really see it and touch it so easily. Unlike you are building a house, you can see level 1, 2, 3, the construction, development, and all that. So this is actually something that worth considering as far as a business management. Spend some time to appreciate and attend some classes to understand what exactly are these technology. Next, we hear a lot about data. Data is the new oil, data is the new gold. But the problem is in the digitalized operation, you have so much of this data within you, which quite humanly impossible to figure out and to make some sense out of it. But once you visualize the data, you can very quickly see that there are actually 3 different categories of trend. And with your own business domain, with your own business contact, you will actually add it together. That will actually help you to make your business decision a lot better and your customer engagement a lot sticky. Very quickly, looking at what the data you have from a Spotify point of view, imagine you just repackage your data into a different form. That will actually create this emotional connect with your customers. Same thing from a bank insight. Again, they are trying to provide you with a different insight on your spending. So these are some of these things that will enable you to create a much better customer engagement. And ideally, if you have invested into a CRM solution that will provide you with a single source of truth, that will actually allow you, when you reach out through your multi-channel, your engagement with the customer is always consistent. Another big topic and very, very hot topic is always talking about digital marketing. And this is something a lot more powerful than just a plain vanilla hard copy newspaper advertising or just a simple TV advertising. Simply because of the data, if you can actually manage it properly, you actually enhance your engagement. More importantly, is actually the targeted segment. To some extent, you can actually do a one-to-one marketing. But the problem with digital marketing is that there are so many platforms, so many social media that you have to work on. So it's not as simple as you just pick up something and then you can run with it. There are a lot of other things, including some agency works that you will be required to help you to actually deploy. And in the region that I work with, one of the things I find lots of weaknesses is the content marketing. Most of the company will have very few fresh content. And their content, a lot of time, is actually not attractive enough to attract and to engage the customer to create an emotional connection. So this is something that, again, need to focus on. Last but not least, in terms of risk and continuity, the more that you digitalize your operation in terms of the percentage, the better your speed, your volume, your productivity will actually increase, and over time, your manual process will actually reduce. But the problem is you have to take note that software, should something do happen, your software consistency, your telco network can break down. And if you are not actually signing up on the cloud platform, for some reason, maybe you actually have some processing is still in-house or in one of the main office, and you need to worry about do you actually back up your data? I work with some business enterprise. Yes, they told me they back up the data, but the backup data is actually stored side by side with their primary data. So if the building catch fire, that's it, everything gone. And the next question is, if you back up, can you actually restore the data? It may not happen after some months or some years. And even if you can back up and restore your data, did you actually back up the proper data, or your data could be corrupted? So these are something very important, especially when you're running digitalized operation. You need all this. And what about data leakage? If you are being hacked, how do you do? How do you handle them? Of course, some of you may think that, okay, this is so tedious, let me just outsource to somebody. Again, you need to worry about that somebody, the third party, do they actually follow all these things properly and execute properly 24/7 for you? So these are actually some of the things that you need to think through, need to be careful, but not too worried. As far as today, current date is concerned, there are actually a lot of digital operation maturity framework that is actually available with some services that you can sign up. You should be able to actually try and ride on this digitalization journey and transform your businesses. With that, I will end my sharing, and next I will hand over to my other colleagues. Jeffrey. Jeffrey is the lead trainer from NTUC, specialized in OTR. Jeffrey.
Okay, thanks, Bo Xiong. Thank you very much. I'm going to share my screen.
All right, I can see your screen. Thanks, Jeffrey.
All right, thanks very much. So good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to share what I do. My team and I, we facilitate roadmaps and company strategies full-time for a living. So this afternoon, I would like to share what we do and how is this helping companies and why is this important, especially if you are considering introducing technologies into your business. So after all, nowadays, government and everybody is talking about digitalization and so on. So after this, we'll be around to help answer some of the questions. I have so many other things to share with you, but time doesn't allow. I'm sure you have questions, so we will be around to answer some of the questions. So when people engage us, we bring three things to you, right, to a table. First thing first are people like us. We are trained, certified professional facilitators. We are there to lead management team through a planning exercise. It's a series of planning activities to generate your company strategy, right, which is like a roadmap, right? The roadmap is a one-page document that shows where the company is today, where they want to go, and how to get there. More importantly, the facilitator is a neutral, adopts a neutral position. They are not there to tell you how to run the business, but they lead your management team through a series of planning exercise, through the journey. Along the way, they will ask you very tough questions and sometimes challenge your business thinking and assumptions. Second thing we bring to the table is the planning process. It's the OTR, Operation and Technology Roadmap. Some people call it OPSTEC Roadmap. It's a very robust, tried and tested industrial strength planning tool. It was originally designed by Cambridge, and A-Star, for more than 10 over years, they adopted it. They not only use it ourselves, they also work with companies to develop the technology adoption strategy. So where I was from, right, we have collectively helped more than 500 companies through this planning journey. They all like the few things that we share. And then, so along the way, NTUC came in. Now I'm in NTUC now, right? Training and work, planning, development people. We adopted a process to help companies on strategies for employment and as well as training. I will share more about the process later on. First thing we bring to you would be the support after. So you got a beautiful plan on the wall, a nice strategy, so what, all right? So what is really important is how to execute the roadmap. And then, so today government roll out many kinds of supports. You can see they are everywhere. To me, I see them as some form like medicine or vitamins. You know, all the medicine and vitamins are good for us, but not all are suitable for us. First thing, some people eat everything together. So amongst the audience here today, I think we are thinking of how best to get all the funding from government, how best to take, if I can, I'll take all the money. But there's no way, right? You can't do that because not all good for you, and you can't mix all these things together. So when we develop a roadmap is your customized medicine or vitamin plans, right? The roadmap identifies matters critical to your organization in a very precise manner. It articulates your current, more importantly, future plans. Hence, the relevant support requires to support it. So behind our back, behind NTUC's back, are a lot of partners. They are all ready to come and help you with. So what is a roadmap, right? Roadmap is a series, these things we roll out is a series of planning exercise. It involves getting your senior management team to work with our facilitators to plan, right, about the future and so on, chart the way. As you can see from the big chart here. Just now I told you the roadmap is a one-page document. Actually, it's a very huge one-page document, like on the wall here. It says about what's the future trend, right? What are the changes and purpose, reason for change over the future? And then hence, what would be our products and services strategy to answer to all these future drivers? And then lastly, we talk about technologies only at the end. If you want to roll out all these products, services, deliverables over the next few years, how are you going to make it happen? This is where we bring in technologies, digitalization, training, hire, fire, and so on to come up with a plan. So roadmap is a one-page document that shows, articulate a company's strategy over the next X years ahead. Today, many companies, they fight fire. They worry about short-term things. They talk about operational things. Most of the people worry about things like, are customers happy or not? Have we received the payment or not? What to manufacture, what kind of materials to order, and so on. They have a good handle about things for the next 6 months. These are operational stuff. Very rarely companies talk about medium term. They talk about, medium term is where you talk about innovation, which product, which service, how should I cost my new things, and so on. Typically, this is planning ahead to 2 to 3 years away. Even few companies plan the strategy part of things long term, like how should I build up my strength capabilities? How should I invest into infrastructure and technologies and talent so that when things come, I'm ready for it? Just like the COVID-19, nobody saw it coming. And a lot of things we know, we hear about, but we don't care about it, right? So this is where a lot of people, they neglect the long-term strategy part of things. We are constantly fighting fire. I know some companies got a bloody nose from the COVID-19, so we are trying to survive. But that should not stop us from planning away further down, all right? Because if you survive, let's say you survive through this COVID-19 and you come out, there's a lot of new things ready to come towards you, right? You need to be prepared for it. So when we do a roadmap exercise, we attempt to look into the medium thing and sometimes even long-term part. Now, different industry define long-term very differently. If you are a marine company, marine aerospace companies, the long-term typically talk about 10 years, 12 years, 15 years. You are talking with a Ministry of Trade, Ministry of Transport, the roadmap is 30 years. But if you're talking to an IT company, the long-term is only like 3 years, 2 years. So when you work with, when we work together to develop a plan, we will talk about where do you reasonably guesstimate into the future. All right. So not only we try to plan for the short term, the current. Some of them are just survival and getting out of trouble kind of roadmaps. Sure, we do that, but when you got this, what's next? What is coming to you? So we need to be prepared for it. So a good roadmap should look something like this. A lot of people abuse the word roadmap. They say this roadmap, that roadmap, but we say no, right? A good roadmap should look something like this. Let me introduce you to the architecture of the roadmap that we use. So first roadmap first thing should identify the reason for change, the purpose. As you can see, the first category here, these are trends in the future that drives your organization in a different manner. These are changes in social trending, technology advancement, politics, legislation, competition, threats, and ethics, and so on. Now, example are COVID-19. Right? Government new policies that keep on changing and keep on coming. We need to know that these are external drivers. We call them external drivers. External drivers are things we have no control. We can't influence it, but we must get to know them. So when the facilitator work your team to talk about what might be coming, and we look into the future and we talk about all this future stuff. And then there's also internal drivers, your ambition. Where do you see your company to be for the next 5 years, 3 years, and so on. So does those, if this is what is going to drive your company forward, right? And then second thing in the roadmap is how are we going to answer to it? What must we change in our current deliverables? What new ones must we launch so that we can continue to be relevant to the industry? This is where your product strategy comes in. Third thing in the roadmap will be, if this is what you're going to sell over the 3, 5, 10 years, how are you going to make it happen? This is where technologies come in. You realize we only talk about technologies at the end. This is where talent development, hire, fire, partnership, infrastructure investment, business investigation, all this is coming at the end to support your deliverables. So a good roadmap would always try to have a balance of market pull and capability push. Either one without the other, your strategy is not solid. It's not balanced. For example, if you are like where I was from A-Star, right, we were just pushing capabilities, pushing things up because we have a lot of expertise. In the end, you find yourself buy all the expensive equipment. In the end, they collect dust at the corridor. Likewise, if there's a lot of market pool, but you're not building your capability, then you won't be relevant very soon. So a good roadmap should always try to balance a market pool and capability push. So if you work with the professional facilitators from our team, we will ensure, right, we'll make sure you want to develop a plan, they should consider balance of both. Otherwise, you'll find it very hard to get buy-in, to get investors' interest in you, to get board of directors' approval, to get support from government. If you don't have a plan like this, you'll find it very hard. They'll say, why you want this, why you want the equipment, why you want the money, and so on. So we find that if you have done your roadmap very well, this one-page document will be able to articulate the reason for change, what you're going to do, and how you're going to make it happen. And we have many experiences of success from government support after the roadmap because the company is able to articulate the strategy very well. So a typical exercise involves a few sessions. It involves your time, your management team. It's going to be a session of planning, brainstorm exercise. Each one is about 3 hours. It's altogether 5 sessions, typical ones, although you can cut short some of those things if you're in a hurry. So the first session, we talk about where we are today. Right? The facilitator will your management team to understand where you are today strategically. You go through your portals forces, your mission, vision, your strategy, long-term, short-term, your customers, your competition, your suppliers, and so on, and put your team on the same page about where you are today. Because it's important for you to, if you want to plan long-term, you should know where you are today. And then we come back a week later to talk about, okay, let's brainstorm about what's going to drive your company forward. What will be some of the external drivers? What will be some of the internal drivers? So my NTUC guys, they know a lot about government policies because they're so sensitive to this thing. They know what might come, what's going to be changing, what new funding is going to happen, and all things. They are able to throw some ideas to your management team. Talk about, okay, this coming, so let's prepare for it. And then third session to come, we will come back and say, okay, if this is what's going to drive my company forward, what must we change in our product strategies? What must we change in our deliverables? What new ones must we launch? And then your voice get you to think creatively out of the box and so on. And then if you have a lot of things, you need to prioritize what is more important, what you can let off. And then we come back later to say that, okay, this is what you're going to sell, how are you going to make it happen? This is where we talk about training. We will let you know who might be the training partners. We talk about technology adoption, partnership, and so on. Lastly, then we chart the whole story into a timeline. And you form the picture of your company for the next X years ahead. So it's a series of planning exercise. My boys will work with you to develop a strategy. To let you have a glimpse of how a roadmap looks like, we want to show you a simple case study. This is a fictitious company because we can't show you real companies. Remember, they are all under NDA. We use a bicycle company because everybody understands how a bicycle looks like. Otherwise, I will show you a medical technology company. Some of them may not be able to understand that. So I'm going to walk through with you this company's roadmap. It's a very simple, simplified roadmap that lets you know the architecture of the roadmap, how it looks like. So this bike company knows that in the next few years, right, it's a 10 years roadmap. People are going to have more disposable income, they have more time for leisure, and have concern for health. By year 3, they know China is going to come in with very cheap competition. They're going to sell bikes on the very cheap and mop everywhere on the floor. So we're going to get in trouble. By year 5, government will finish the bicycle path. They will give tax rebates for people who buy health equipment. So the first row is external drivers, things that the company have no control. Second row will be the ambition. They have a new investor. They want a demonstrator bike soon. They want to launch a new range of bike in year 2. Thereafter, they want to drop the low end and middle end and go into high end super bike because they know they can't compete with China for the low end and middle end. Second row is the internal ambition. So this team go back and say, okay, if this was going to drive my company, what must we change in our product services? The team go back and brainstorm. They come out with a product strategy. It was broken down into 3 categories, namely style, comfort, and technical. Right now, let's gather all the things that we already have, all the capabilities we have. Let's offer features like this: designer look, expanded range, ergonomic, motor seat, and direct drive. This one will go into my new range of bike. We're going to hopefully sell them and make money. And by year 5, we're going to launch more ATAS feature. Things like online design, customized frame, chip on bike, automatic. And we're going to sell them for $10,000. And we're going to name it Superbike. So this is a product strategy of the company to answer to the future drivers. And then they say, okay, this is what we're going to sell over the next 5 years. How are we going to make it happen? They go back and brainstorm. Now, this is where you introduce the how part. This is where you talk about they need to have internet, they need to have design and electronics capabilities. Right now, let's quickly network our business and factory and research into materials, research with A-Star and so on, invest into ergonomics research and so on. And then hopefully these are going to my current range of new bikes. After that, we're going to invest into more high-tech stuff. These are mass customization, visualization, security, and communication. This one I go into my super bike. This is where I'm going to sell and make money. Right, so this is how they make things happen. Last part, because they're weak in gears and styling, they need to have partners quickly right now. And then they need to go to NTUC to get people to help them train the talents and skill, and go to E2I. NTUC can bring all the people to help me to train my capabilities. And then, of course, I need capital. That's where I'm going to go to ESG Singapore, right, to help me give some funding and so on. And then because we are weak in branding, we need to partner with somebody who knows branding and promotion. So this is, so in less than 3 minutes, I was able to tell you the story of a company, all right, a strategy of a company for the next 10 years. Likewise, we're going to develop with you, to develop your own roadmap that looks something like this. It's very logical, methodical, and structured, able to articulate a strategy in a 1-minute elevator pitch. So my buddy feel this is important to show the audience today, saying that many companies, small companies fail because for many reasons. Things like they have no market needs, they ran out of cash, they don't have the right team. They do not look forward to that. They have not planned forward that kind of things because they are just fighting fire. So when we do a roadmap OTR exercise like this, we have time to discuss all these matters in a discussion like this collectively with your team and our facilitators. So make sure the team has got collectively look at the business 360 degrees. Make sure you have considered all the perspective, all the position of a company. Now, a bit of trumpet blowing. Some people say the roadmap actually helps them. In what way, all right? So people say that after the roadmap, they feel that the team has become collectively very fully aware of what's going on in the business. They now are looking outward, right, instead of just getting on daily business. And then, of course, if you want to link, you want to invest technologies, talent, employ people, you must link it to your long-term business strategy. Hence, a roadmap allows you to consider all these things and see all these things. And if you know the gaps early, of course, you can, we need to go do some research. The boys have to go and do some research and come back, report to the team, and become collectively more clever to make decisions about the future. It's a good communication platform because when you put every representation from every department together to talk about strategy, it's covered more perspective, right? The team become buy-in because it's the ideas. And of course, you know the risk early, you can try to avoid them. And people at the end say that I generally become more confident to invest into the company. Likely, could be technologically, could be human, could be talent, could be training, whatever thing. Right. So the roadmap allows them to have more confidence to invest into the future, especially get out of the COVID situation right now, especially when you're talking about recovery. So what's involved? There's some commitment required from you. All right. Although there's going to be charges, if you do this with A-Star, anybody, they're going to charge you $25,000. What is important is also what it's going to cost you is your time also. But if you are willing, partner with NTUC, you're qualified in certain manner by joining a union and so on, you can get this exercise fully subsidized, except your time, all right? So a typical exercise involves 6 to 12 participants from your organization, and some of the partners they come with you. And we may want to identify owner, some union leader inside and so on, all right? So this is the only commitment required, your time. And if you're a member, qualifying partner, you can get this FOC, all right? We call it fully subsidized. We will have more information if you are interested to get on board. Come and ask questions later on. Write to us, talk to SGTech or TDA and organizer. They will give you more information about how to get on board, and you can ask some more questions along the way. So I thank you so much for your time, and hand back to Ivan.
All right, thank you so much, Jeffrey, and thank you so much, Guo Xiong. We have a few questions for you guys. For the rest of our audience, by all means, please continue to share with us as well your questions in the Q&A functionality as well. Let me just open up my slides. Okay, bring it up here. Right, perfect. So let's start with Jeffrey first. Yeah, I saw your slides where you say that a typical organization needs about 5 days, 5 half days in a workshop. Who else do you need from the company to be involved? Is it just going to be the board of directors and the company founders, or should there be more people as well involved in the process?
It depends on your scope of your roadmap. If you are talking about whole company strategy, of course, the senior stakeholders should be in there. Typically, SMEs, they have the big boss, second boss, and the team of senior management team. So some companies decide to have 50% of people young blood, 50% of the people old guard. They want to put them together to debate about the future. Some of them say that Yeah, the other one, they have a representation from each department so that it covers more perspective. That's your choice. 6 to 10% is about right number.
But it seems to me that you need a certain size. What if a company is a bit smaller, like say a typical SME in Singapore, a micro SME with less than 10 people? Is it still useful for them?
Absolutely. We have done a one-man startup because the guy has a lot of money but don't know how to run the business, how to start a business. Of course.
This seems to be a very good problem to have, yeah?
Yes, yeah, happy problem. We're happy to work with these people, right? So all sorts of sizing. 80% of customers have been SMEs.
So thank you so much, Jeffrey. And the question to caution then, let's talk about digitalization. You represent the ICT, all of us, including myself, who are ICT professionals, right? In the different sectors, are we seeing an uptick in digitalization since the circuit breaker?
Definitely. I think before the COVID circuit breaker, I think a lot of SME that we actually spoke with, they have this wait and see mentality. Okay. So what happened is that now within the region, everybody realized that, hey, actually, you have no choice, right? So you stay at home and then work from home. And then they find out that, hey, actually, if I can actually work with somebody from Changi and from Jurong, so there's actually no different than if I can work with somebody in the region. And so this kind of push the digitalization, but at the same time also creating threat and opportunity in the sense that if you are able to create some innovative product and services, maybe come out of the OTR exercise, you can actually sell a lot further away because people are so used to it. Yeah, but then the threat is that the same thing can happen. You're actually competing on a lot level playing field today with after COVID, the new normal. So
how can ICT professional be part of that conversation for company digitalization? Should every company, a lot of companies in Singapore don't even have IT in-house, right? They probably outsource it. What can they do? What would be TTAB recommendation for them? Apart from hiring people like us.
Yeah, why not? So actually, there are several models from the very large company point of view. Of course, as usual, they have their big team, big department of resources, focusing on every simple little thing, right? But for the smaller shop, currently in the market, there are actually different service model that's available, meaning that you can actually engage some of the company that offer, they call it a CXO service, whereby they combine the CTO, the CMO, and some others services within the company. They will actually assign a so-called BAU operation director, maybe on-site most of the time. So just to handle in case you power up your system, it can't work, there will be somebody on-site to look after your service. But for all the strategic transformation challenges, where you need different brainstorming, different juices to help you, there's a team of people. You don't need to pay like maybe a three guy with a big fat salary, but instead you make use of them from time to time. So if you need their service, let's say once a week, they will come in, understand your business, your domain and all that. After that, then they will try to work out certain strategy together with your business. So it's a little bit like an OTR, but you don't actually have to spend so much money because some of this stuff, you don't need to do that, especially for the smaller company. They ask you opportunity.
I understand. And something like a CXO service, I understand. So, back again to Jeffrey, right? SME inertia, how is you can see, right? I think it's true that the SME has a lot of inertia to jump. What would your recommendation be to get everyone in the company on board? Even now when there's a fire underneath you with a circuit breaker, it seems to me that some people are still not willing to try new ways of doing things. What would be the recommendation then? How, based on your industry experience?
Well, you take it that you got nothing to lose. At most is your time. A lot of companies, they may not understand. They say, I'm just want to get by, why plan this kind of long term. But it is always useful for you to look forward. Otherwise, your management team look at the boss. If the boss is only about survival, I probably don't want to stay with this company. The company tell me got no future. I probably want to tell it. The number one thing from the research, the number one thing is make a employment happy is that they see the company has a long-term future. That is the one thing.
So helping them articulate that this is a long-term future might be a good way to change this cultural perception with employees, I guess, to make changes or the obsolete, or as Singaporeans, right, we'll all be obsolete easily in this new normal since work is practically all done remotely.
Yeah, we need to change, especially you want to attract young people to your organization. They don't look out for just salary. They look out for long-term longevity with company, future, that kind of things.
Understand. And let's talk about the Singaporeans adaptation. Guo Xiong, you work with so many ICT professionals, and you just now cover the 4 factors, right? Are we seeing a shift already? Like, are we actively reaching there to get our SME digitalized based on your experience?
I would think that always important to go back to your OTR or any operating model concept, because with that, you are actually having this common language that you share across the board. And if you can actually create some summarized information, you can actually communicate to the whole company, be it a small or the large one. At least everybody understand and everybody align with that. Only with that, you will be able to avoid some of the problem like trying to automate an old way, an old process, rather than transforming your new businesses. So that is actually something very, very key. Once you have that aligned, then the rest of all this execution will become easier. But that provided the big bosses in the company is keen and prepared to change the culture. Because the new digitalization culture also involves things like open-minded and engagement and combine everybody into this whole journey. Otherwise, if you still have the old mindset, like for example, I'm the boss, I tell you this is an instruction, and you guys go away 3 months, work on the work according to my instruction. But what if my instruction was not clear? Then you're going to create a lot of problem in terms of your strategic investment, in terms of the time spent. And not forgetting, a lot of companies still having a lot of not necessarily old staff. In fact, I worked with one case, very interesting, young staff, 30 years old. But the fact is that the person been with the company like for the last 10 years. So day in, day out, always using the same paper base with a bit of Excel. And that's it, the person know. So you ask the person suddenly go and transform, you create a lot of problem if the mindset, the culture is not actually changed. And that has to be led by the management.
Understood. A lot of adaptation, a lot of reaching there. So, with that, right, I unfortunately don't run out of time, but we have so many questions. So a lot of questions are actually geared towards Jeffrey to see how SMEs can benefit from getting this free OTR assessment. So for everyone, the slides is available on isolation.sg/past webinar, including Jeffrey contact information and NTUC information inside. You can go and download, look at the package available before you email them. As well, if you need SGTech to connect you with Guo Xiong and Jeffrey, the email is info@sgtech.org.sg. So there's a lot of information. But thank you so much, Jeffrey. Thank you so much, Guo Xiong. It seems to me that to recap, let's start with, so everyone, let's start first with getting an OTR. Then after that, remember to hire the ICT professional here from TTAB side. Yes, we represent, I think TTAB represents so many of us, and it's something that's going to be so key to help the company transform moving forward. Thank you so much, Jeffrey. Thank you so much, Guo Xiong.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Ivan.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Now, I would like now to pass my time over to my colleague at SGTech, Song Jie here, who will be sharing you some solutions that we have curated specifically for the digitalization effort. So over to you, Song Jie.